There's something going on in Santa Clara right now, and no, this does not feel like a normal offseason. This feels like a team that knows exactly what kind of pressure is waiting for it in 2026. This feels like a franchise staring straight at the clock, staring straight at the NFC and saying, yeah, we know what time it is. You've got a quiet little re-signing that actually says more than people think. You've got a pass rush rumor that could seriously shake up this defense. You've got real tension surrounding Trent Williams, and you've even got another clue about where this offensive line is headed. Put all of that together and the message starts getting loud. This front office knows the 49ers cannot afford to waste this championship window. So if you're riding with the Niners, hit like, subscribe, and let me know right now in the comments. Do you feel like San Francisco is about to push all the chips in for a Super Bowl run? And I want to start with the move that a lot of people are probably going to brush off. Garrett Wallow back on a one-year deal. Some fans are going to look at that and say, okay, and? But that's exactly the mistake people make when they talk about contender teams like they're built only on stars. They're not. Great teams are built on stars, depth, trust, timing, and role players who can actually survive when the lights get hot. That's why this move matters more than it looks on the surface. Let's stay disciplined here. Fact first. Wallow is not some headline-grabbing name. He's been with the Texans, Titans, Broncos, and now he stays with the 49ers. The regular season numbers don't jump off the screen. Fine. But here's the part that changes the entire read. After the Niners claimed him late in 2025, he didn't just exist on the roster. He got on the field, contributed on special teams, and then started 2 playoff games, putting up 12 tackles and a pass breakup in the postseason. That matters. That absolutely matters. Because real contenders don't just need big names. They need guys who can be dropped into chaos and not blink. They need players who show up late, learn fast, hit hard, and hold up when January football turns violent. So when a guy like Wallow earns enough trust to go from waiver pickup to postseason starter, the coaching staff is telling you something. They're telling you this roster has standards. They're telling you production inside the system gets rewarded. They're telling you this team is thinking about the whole machine, not just the flashy parts. And honestly, that's exactly how a Super Bowl caliber operation should function. You don't wait for a problem to explode in your face. You prepare for attrition. You prepare for injuries. You prepare for the grind. You prepare for the part of the season where depth stops being a luxury and starts being oxygen. Is Garrett Wallow the move that changes the ceiling of the franchise by himself? No, of course not. But is it the kind of move that shows San Francisco is taking every layer of this roster seriously because the stakes are too high to be careless? Absolutely. That's a contender move. That's a grown-up move. So tell me this, do you like these under-the-radar depth moves because they strengthen the foundation? Or do you think the pressure is too high for the Niners to spend time talking about anything that isn't a splash? Now let's turn the heat all the way up because this is where things get real interesting. Jonathan Greenard. Yeah, now we're talking. If the Wallow move is about roster maintenance, the Greenard rumor is about aggression. It's about violence off the edge. It's about fixing a problem that can absolutely cap this defense if the Niners walk into 2026 without a real answer. Again, facts first. There is no confirmed active negotiation between the 49ers and Vikings. That part matters. We are not going to present rumor like it's already done. But what we do have is smoke, and in the NFL, smoke around impact pass rushers always gets attention. The reason this rumor has legs is simple. Greenard is the kind of player who makes sense for a team with a very obvious need, and Minnesota's contract situation reportedly gives this thing some fuel. That's where the speculation starts. Not with fantasy, with fit. And the fit? It's obvious, painfully obvious. The defensive line has been identified as one of the biggest weaknesses on this roster, and San Francisco finishing 2025 with just 20 sacks is nowhere near good enough for a team with Super Bowl expectations. That's not a cosmetic issue. That's not a we'll figure it out later issue. That's a structural issue. That's the kind of flaw that shows up in huge moments, when elite quarterbacks have time to breathe, step up, and break your heart. That is why Greenard is such a dangerous idea in the best possible way. He's not just another body. He's the kind of edge rusher who changes the feel of a front. He gives you juice, production, pressure, disruption. He gives you somebody offenses actually have to account for. He gives you a way to raise the entire temperature of the defense. Now, yes, the money is real. The contract questions are real. The cost would not be cheap. But let me ask you something, because this is where contender logic has to kick in. If your biggest weakness is staring you in the face, are you really going to get timid now? Are you really going to play it safe when the championship window is already open? So I want you to sound off on this one because this is the debate. If the price is high, do you still go get Greenard? Do you move assets, make the money work, and attack this thing head on? Or do you think the Niners need to solve the pass rush another way? Me personally, If San Francisco wants to send a message to the entire NFC, this is exactly the kind of move that changes the tone of an offseason. Not because it wins the Super Bowl in March, but because it tells everybody in the conference the 49ers know exactly what their problem is, and they're not afraid to go fix it. And then we get to maybe the biggest pressure point in this whole picture: Trent Williams. This is where the offseason stops feeling theoretical and starts feeling urgent. This is where the clock gets loud. This is where money, leverage, age, value, and contention all crash into each other at once. The facts here are heavy. Trent Williams and the 49ers have been in a contract standoff. From the team's side, it makes all the sense in the world to want relief from a massive 2026 cap number. From Trent's side, it also makes all the sense in the world to want guarantees because none of his 2026 money is guaranteed right now. On top of that, there is a $10 million bonus due Friday, March 20th, 2026. That date matters. That is not just a footnote, that is a pressure point. If the 49ers wanted to avoid paying that cash in the most dramatic way possible, they'd need to make a move before then. That's why all the trade chatter started. That's why release speculation even entered the conversation. Big cap number, older player, future Hall of Famer, huge market if available, all of that creates noise. But here's the thing. Time has kept moving, free agency opened, and nothing serious has materialized publicly. No huge push, no concrete move, no real sign of a breakup that feels imminent. And when that happens this close to a major financial trigger, I think the read starts shifting. Because if you're really going to move off a player like Trent Williams, you better have a plan, a real one. Not a spreadsheet answer, not a we'll patch it later answer, a real answer. This is still one of the defining pieces of the offense. This is still a cornerstone at one of the most important positions in football. Yes, the age is real. Yes, the money is real. Nobody should pretend otherwise. But championship teams do not casually rip out foundational players unless they are absolutely convinced the replacement plan is solid. And right now, I don't see overwhelming evidence that San Francisco is in position to absorb that kind of loss like it's no big deal. So to me, if Trent stays, the message is clear. The 49ers still understand that protecting the core of this team matters more than winning an accounting argument. If something shocking happens at the last second, then we're talking about a major identity shift, not just a contract update. So tell me where you stand. Would you pay Trent and keep the left side strong? Or do you think the front office has to get colder and start planning for life after him right now? And finally, let's talk about Spencer Burford heading to the Raiders, because this is another move that tells you something if you're paying attention. Maybe it won't dominate the national shows, maybe it won't go viral on its own, but this absolutely helps us understand what San Francisco wants from the offensive line moving forward. The fact is, Burford is out after 4 years, and the 49ers didn't exactly act like a team desperate to keep him. That says a lot. He came in with promise, started early, had chances, but over time his role became less about locking down a spot and more about living in rotation, living in uncertainty, living in that gray area contenders eventually get tired of. And when you combine his departure with the sense that the Niners may want to move away from a left guard platoon, now the bigger picture starts to come into focus. This team wants more certainty, more structure, more definition, less juggling, less guesswork. Less surviving week to week at a position that needs stability, especially when the rest of the offensive line already carries so much tension. Because think about it. You already have the Trent Williams situation hanging over everything. You already have questions about money, age, and the future. So why would you also want a vague, rotating answer at left guard if you're trying to make a real run? That's not how serious contenders operate in the trenches. So from my perspective, Burford leaving isn't some devastating strategic loss. It feels more like a philosophical reset. A sign that San Francisco is trying to get firmer, cleaner, more intentional up front. And when that kind of shift happens in a championship window, it usually means the organization knows it can't keep living with half solutions. It needs something more stable, more trustworthy, more playoff-proof. So let me hear from you on that one too. Are the Niners right to turn the page and look for a more fixed answer at left guard? Or do you think Burford should have gotten one more shot? And when you zoom all the way out, that's the real takeaway here. The 49ers are not moving like a comfortable team. They're moving like a team that feels the pressure, understands the opportunity, and knows 2026 is going to demand real answers. You've got quiet depth decisions, explosive pass rush possibilities, a massive Trent Williams crossroads, and a clear signal that the offensive line may be headed toward more structure. Every one of those moves points back to the same thing. This team still believes it can chase a title, but belief alone is not going to be enough anymore. The pressure is here, the window is here, the expectations are enormous, and now the only thing left is proving all of it on the field. So now I want the faithful to light this up. Does this offseason path convince you the Niners are still coming like a true contender, or do you believe one more major move has to happen before this team is really ready to go hunt a Super Bowl? Drop your take, share this with another Niners fan, and let's talk about it, because whatever happens next in Santa Clara, it's not going to be small, it's going to matter. And if this front office gets the next move right, the rest of the NFC better be ready.